you know what day it is. It is Throwback Thursday. On Thursdays, I post videos that I have done previous. I've been doing YouTube videos, I think it's for 4 or 5 years now. So I am going to be bringing back some of my favorites on Thursdays. So I hope you stick around and check it out.
Check out what I am going to make out with this sign and this little snippet from the Farm Fresh Dollar Tree calendar. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to get this off of here. I already took one out. We're not going to use this on our sign. And then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Elephant Waverly chalk paint. And I am going to very carefully paint the inside of the sign. So I'm just going to cover this up, and I'm probably going to put a couple coats because I am going to put some fabric on here and I don't want any of this green to show. Alright, so I have it all painted. There's 2 coats of paint on there and that should be good enough. Then I have this, which was a placemat that I cut apart excuse me, for a different project, and I have just enough to cover the inside of the box. So I'm just going to kind of about measure this, and I'm just going to start cutting. Hopefully I don't cut too short. I have my placemat all set the way I want it. It is the right size. And then I'm going to take some Mod Podge and I am going to Mod Podge it into my box or frame, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to put a bunch of Mod Podge in here and then put my fabric in. Now if you notice, I painted the inside and the inside edges and the outside edges also. But you can do whatever you want. You can paint it whatever color you want. Alright, then I'm going to stick my fabric in here. And I'm not going to Mod Podge the top of it, so I'm just going to let this dry and then we're going to decorate this. Okay. That is all Mod Podged in there. Then I got this LED light set from Dollar Tree. I already have the batteries in there. And you are not going to believe this, but these lights, which look super cute, the tube squishes down. So what my plan is here is I am going to stick this in here, and then I am going to take my lights all the way on the inside of the box. And I am going to hot glue them in there. So I'm not exactly sure about how much I'm going to need. So I think I'm going to start right here because this tube is really flexible. You see that? So you kind of got to be careful when you're putting it in there. So I'm just going to pull my lights through, and then I'm going to get my hot glue gun. Should be ready to go. And I am going to start putting my lights around, and I'm going to start right up over here. I'm going to stick that end right up against there. So if you can see this, that's what it looks like with the lights on. So I'm going to try to maybe, I don't know, it's like maybe squish the tube. I don't want too many extra lights left over. When I put this in here, I was thinking maybe I was going to put the lights like this, and then the box is going to go down on the bottom here because I want it to, I mean it stands, but I want it to stand a lot better. But so I'm thinking maybe the lights are going to come right about here. So they'll be a little bit hanging up, but I don't want too much hanging up. So let's see, maybe about here. So that means I need to squish this tubing in here so that it fits all the way around. So I think I'm just going to start hot gluing and kind of squishing it a little bit. So let's see what happens. Put a little hot glue in there. I'm going to kind of squish the tube up a little bit and hold it in. And I'm just going to do this around the box. It's kind of hard to judge about how much to squish it or not, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm squishing the light in, and right now, because I put it through the hole, it's a little flattened down, so I'm just gonna kind of pull it through a little bit, see if I can kind of puff it up a little bit. And stick that last bit of glue in there to hold it. And then this is gonna come back up through here. But this is what it is looking like so far. I think it's gonna look really cute. So then I'm just gonna stick a little bit of hot glue just to hold this in here, up on top. I'm gonna stick that end right in here, because that's gonna be my handle instead of the beads. And then the battery box, I am going to hot glue to my sign, but I want it sticking like this because I want to be able to access the battery pack, and I also want to be able to turn it on really easy. And then also this will kind of be like a little stand to help it stand, even though it stands on its own already. But so I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue on here, not on the actual case, because I want that to be able to come off. I don't want to get on this part. And stick that right to there. And then just because this is kind of sticking out a little bit, I'm going to stick a little hot glue here and hot glue the wire to the back. Okay, so that is all glued on. I have my switch right here, my battery pack, which should still, this top part should come off, and it helps to make it stand. All right, so I have my little Farm Fresh Christmas tree sign that I got from the calendar from Dollar Tree. And then I also have this, which I got from Dollar Tree. And I'm gonna cut a little section out because I want this to stand out a little bit. So I'm just gonna cut a row off of here. And this side is kind of uneven, so I'm just gonna kind of snip that so it's more evened out. And this is gonna go on here like this, but I think I need to maybe cut it a little bit shorter. So I have my mesh, or whatever you wanna call it, all ready to go. I'm just gonna take a couple strings off of here on the ends, just to make it look a little bit frayed. Let's see how that looks. I think I'm gonna, I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it like that. I think that might even be a little too much. Maybe I'm just gonna cut these ends just a little bit. I think it's just a little too much right there. At least on the top. Okay, so I am gonna take my little sign here, and I probably should Mod Podge it down on here, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna take my glue gun and just put a little bit of glue on here. I don't want too much because I don't want it to be puffing up. Alright, just a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to glue it onto here. Try to keep it somewhat straight. Alright, and then this is going to go on my sign right here. I'm going to put it up just a little bit. So I'm going to stick some hot glue on the back of this. And I'm going to glue this right on top here. Alright, that is all glued on. Then I got these little trees, which I wish I would have found some green ones, but I didn't. I just have the white and the silver that I got from Dollar Tree, and I am gonna hot glue these right into my little scene here. I had in the pack that I got, there's big ones and there's small ones, and they are gonna go right about here in the ends. So let's try to get the hot glue in there. I probably should have waited to do my stand so I could hold this up a little bit better, but these are gonna go right in the corner here. And these are on wires, so you can kind of bend them a little bit to get them in the position that you want. And I'm going to take the small silver one over on this side. And just stick it in there. hot glue them down. Kind of pushing them in a little bit so they're not sticking out too far on the bottom. And then I'm going to put these other ones on the other side. Just kind of mixed it up a little bit. White on one side and silver on the other side. And then the little white one on the other side. I think it would have looked a lot better, like I said, if I would have had the green trees, but I think this still looks pretty cute. Then I got this decorative base filler. This was also from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take some of these pine cones and these little white flowers, and I'm going to stick these up in the corner. I think one over here. Up in there, and then I'm thinking about sticking the little white ones next to them over here. So just a bunch of hot glue on there and stick that guy up in there. Right, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to glue him over here, and then I might have to cut the stem down a little bit. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to use that scissors. Cut the stem down a little bit. And then I'm going to stick this guy up in this opposite corner. Alright, so I'm almost done. I'm thinking it just needs a little bit more. This bottom looks just kind of weird to me. So I think I'm going to take some of the Spanish moss that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to very thinly, I think, layer it on the bottom here. I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue and just put some of the Spanish moss on there. I tried with the reindeer moss from Dollar Tree, and I just didn't think that looked quite right. So I'm just going to put some of this on here. And I think that's going to complete my project. All right, I think this totally finishes the project here, but I think I need to cut some of this off. Some of the strands are a little too long. So I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. But I think that is going to be it. Alright, well there we have it. That is my finished Dollar Tree project. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe and take care. Thanks. Bye.